I've spent decades studying how the foods we eat can protect our health, and in all that time, one of the most surprising things I've come across is something most people walk right past in their own kitchen without ever thinking twice about it. Today, I want to show you what happens when you take a single whole clove, one tiny spice bud, and place it underneath your tongue for just 5 minutes. Now, I know that sounds unusual, but by the time I explain the science behind it, I think you're going to want to try it before this video is even over. Here's what I'd like you to do. Go find a whole clove in your spice cabinet, just one. Place it directly under your tongue. Don't chew it, don't swallow it, just let it rest there for 5 minutes. And here's why this matters more than you'd expect. The answer involves your bloodstream, your saliva, your gut, and a natural plant compound that dentists have relied on for over 100 years. But it starts with something about your own anatomy that most people have never been told. So the obvious question is, why does it matter where you place the clove in your mouth? Right beneath your tongue, there's a thin layer of tissue called the sublingual mucosa. Unlike the thick skin on your hands or the tough lining of your stomach, this tissue is remarkably delicate, almost paper thin. And sitting just beneath it is a dense web of tiny blood vessels, closer to the surface than almost anywhere else in your body. Now, here's what most people don't realize. Physicians have been using this exact spot to deliver critical medications for decades. During a cardiac emergency, doctors will place a nitroglycerin tablet right under a patient's tongue, not because it's convenient, but because this area absorbs compounds into the bloodstream faster than almost any other route outside of an injection. Think about that. The same biological doorway that emergency doctors use to rush heart medication into your circulation is the same doorway you're opening when you place a clove in that spot. But there's another reason this route is so valuable, and it's something I want you to understand. When you swallow a pill or food normally, it has to travel through your stomach, survive the acid there, pass into your small intestine, and then get processed by your liver before reaching the rest of your body. During that journey, called first-pass metabolism, a significant portion of the active compounds can get broken down before they ever do their job. The area under your tongue partially bypasses that whole process. What's absorbed there enters your bloodstream more directly. Now, a clove is not a pharmaceutical, I want to be clear about that, but the natural compounds locked inside that dried flower bud start releasing the moment your warm saliva softens it. And because they're meeting one of the most absorbent surfaces in your body, they begin interacting with living tissue almost immediately. So what exactly is inside a clove that makes this worth doing? This is where the science gets fascinating. Every spice has a chemical fingerprint, a set of natural molecules that give it its flavor, its aroma, and its biological effects. Cinnamon has cinnamaldehyde, turmeric has curcumin, and cloves are dominated by a compound called eugenol. What makes eugenol unusual is its concentration. It makes up roughly 70 to 90% of clove essential oil. Most spices contain their active compounds in single-digit percentages. The clove is essentially nature's delivery system for this one powerful molecule. And eugenol has been studied extensively. Published research has documented its antioxidant properties, the ability to neutralize unstable molecules called free radicals that damage your cells over time. Studies have also shown it can interfere with the growth of certain harmful bacteria. It calms irritated tissue. And most famously, it has a gentle numbing quality that has made clove-based preparations a go-to in dental offices worldwide for well over a century. That's worth emphasizing. This isn't a wellness fad. Dentists, trained medical professionals, have been using eugenol-based treatments to manage oral discomfort for generations. If your grandmother ever told you to press a clove against a sore tooth, she was drawing on a tradition with real science behind it. But here's what surprised even some researchers. The benefits of holding a clove under your tongue go well beyond your teeth. Let me show you what happens in the first few minutes. Within about 60 seconds, you'll notice something shifting in your mouth, a gentle warmth, a subtle tingle spreading across the floor of your mouth and along the edges of your tongue, then a deep aromatic flavor, slightly peppery, slightly sweet, that radiates further than you'd expect from something so small. That sensation comes from the clove's essential oils being drawn out by your body heat and saliva. The eugenol is making contact with nerve endings in the soft tissue of your mouth, and that tingle, it's not irritation. It's a sign that the bioactive compounds are actively present and engaging with your tissue. And if you're someone who sometimes deals with stuffiness or heaviness in your sinuses, pay attention to what happens next. As the volatile oils rise from the clove, they stimulate sensory receptors in your mouth, in the back of your throat, and in the passages connecting to your nasal cavity. Many people describe a sudden feeling of openness, as if someone cracked a window in a stuffy room. Now, to be clear, the clove isn't physically decongesting your sinuses the way a medicated spray would, but the stimulation of those nerve endings creates a refreshing, clearing sensation that many people find genuinely pleasant. But here's the part most people miss entirely, and in my opinion, it might be the most important thing that happens. Your mouth will start producing noticeably more saliva, and that matters far more than you think. Most people think of saliva as just moisture, something that helps you chew and swallow. But I can tell you, saliva is one of the most biochemically sophisticated fluids your body produces. It's a genuine frontline defense system. Every time your salivary glands activate, they release a mix of protective compounds. There's lysozyme, an enzyme that breaks down bacterial cell walls. There's lactoferrin, a protein that starves harmful microbes by binding to the iron they need to survive. And there's immunoglobulin A, an antibody that patrols the surfaces of your mouth, marking invaders for your immune system to handle. And here's something that matters, especially as we get older. Saliva constantly works to maintain the acid-base balance inside your mouth. Every time you eat, particularly sugary or acidic foods, your oral environment shifts toward acidity. That acid weakens tooth enamel and creates ideal conditions for cavity-causing bacteria. Saliva is the buffer that pushes back. It neutralizes those acids. It delivers calcium and phosphate ions to repair and remineralize weakened enamel, and it physically washes food debris out of the spaces between your teeth where bacteria like to hide. Here's a question I want you to honestly consider. Have you noticed your mouth feeling drier than it used to? Maybe you wake up with a parched feeling, or you find yourself sipping water constantly throughout the day. Dry mouth is remarkably common, and it becomes more prevalent with age, partly because many widely prescribed medications list reduced saliva as a side effect. Blood pressure medications, antidepressants, antihistamines, diuretics, the list is long. So when a clove triggers a surge of saliva production, you're not just experiencing a side effect. You're activating one of your body's most powerful self-cleaning and self-repair systems. And if you're someone who struggles with that persistent dryness, and I see this frequently in my work, this simple practice can be especially meaningful. A chronically dry mouth isn't just uncomfortable. It's an environment where bacteria multiply faster, gum disease progresses more quickly, and tooth decay accelerates significantly. Most people would stop there, but the next benefit is one that I think gets people truly interested. Chronic bad breath, the kind that mouthwash only hides for 20 minutes, is almost always a bacterial problem. The odor comes from volatile sulfur compounds produced by bacteria living on the back of your tongue, between your teeth, and in the pockets around your gums. Here's what most people don't realize about commercial breath products. Many work by either masking the smell with a stronger fragrance or temporarily reducing surface bacteria with alcohol-based rinses, which dry your mouth out and often make the underlying problem worse over time. A clove works through a fundamentally different mechanism. Research suggests that eugenol can reduce populations of several oral bacteria species, including some of the key organisms responsible for producing those sulfur compounds. And because the clove simultaneously stimulates saliva, which physically flushes bacteria and debris, you get a combined effect. You're reducing the bacteria causing the odor while also boosting your body's own cleaning system. The result isn't a chemical disguise, it's a measurably cleaner oral environment, and many people who make this a daily practice report that the difference lasts for hours, not minutes. Now, everything I've described so far has been happening inside your mouth, but I want you to stay with me because once you swallow that clove, the story takes an important turn. After about 5 minutes, the clove will have softened noticeably. At that point, gently bite into it. You'll feel one last burst of concentrated flavor and then swallow it. And now those bioactive compounds begin moving through your gastrointestinal system. And this is where I need to talk about something that connects many of the chronic health complaints I see in my work: inflammation. Acute inflammation, a swollen ankle, redness around a cut, is your immune system doing its job. It rushes resources to the injury site, fights infection, and starts repair. That's healthy. But chronic low-grade inflammation, the kind that lingers quietly in your tissues for months or years without any obvious injury, is a very different situation. Research has linked this persistent inflammatory state to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, joint deterioration, digestive disorders, and cognitive decline. It's not the only factor in these conditions, but it's a common thread. Here's what the research tells us about eugenol specifically. Studies suggest it may help modulate certain inflammatory pathways, particularly by influencing molecules like cyclooxygenase 2 and various cytokines that drive the inflammatory response. Now, I want to be clear, One clove is not going to reverse years of chronic disease, but regularly introducing this compound appears to work alongside your body's own regulatory systems rather than against them. And if you deal with morning stiffness in your joints, persistent lower back soreness, or that foggy sluggishness after meals, these are often signs of underlying inflammation. I hear about these complaints constantly, and many people have simply accepted them as an unavoidable part of getting older, but they don't have to be. Many traditional healing systems across Asia, the Middle East, and Africa have used cloves specifically for these kinds of complaints for centuries. We're only now beginning to understand the mechanisms behind what those practitioners observed. Let me give you a practical way to think about this. Chronic inflammation isn't one dramatic event. It's more like a slow drip. A little stiffness here, a little soreness there, gums that bleed more easily than they used to, digestion that feels heavier than it once did. Each one alone seems minor, but together, they're your body signaling that something is quietly out of balance. And while no single food or spice fixes all of that, consistently introducing natural anti-inflammatory compounds is one evidence-supported way to start shifting things in a better direction. What I find particularly interesting is that the clove addresses this on two levels simultaneously. Locally, the eugenol calms irritated gum tissue and reduces bacteria-driven inflammation in your mouth. And then systemically, once digested and absorbed, it circulates through your bloodstream and interacts with inflammatory pathways throughout your body. But there's still more happening inside your gut, and this part deserves special attention. If you've ever dealt with uncomfortable bloating after a meal, that tight, distended feeling, the gas, the heaviness that won't pass, then I want you to pay close attention here. Cloves have long been classified as what's called a carminative, a substance that helps reduce gas formation and supports the movement of trapped gas through your digestive tract. The compounds in cloves, including eugenol, appear to help relax the smooth muscle lining of the intestines. This can relieve cramping and allow things to move through more comfortably. If you've ever had one of those evenings where you feel like your abdomen is a balloon that won't deflate, you'll understand why this property has been valued across cultures for centuries. There's another aspect researchers are exploring, and this one is particularly relevant for people who deal with that burning feeling after meals. Some evidence suggests that eugenol may help support the protective mucus barrier of the stomach, the layer that keeps your own digestive acids from damaging the stomach wall. For the millions of people who deal with acid reflux or heartburn, this is an area worth watching, though I want to emphasize that cloves are not a replacement for proper medical treatment of serious reflux conditions. And then there's the gut microbiome, that vast community of trillions of bacteria living in your intestinal tract. What's becoming increasingly clear is that your microbiome influences far more than digestion. It plays roles in immune function, mood regulation, nutrient production, and even how your body stores fat. Early research suggests that plant polyphenols like those in cloves may selectively support beneficial gut bacteria while discouraging harmful strains. I think of it as gentle gardening, encouraging the plants you want and making conditions less favorable for the weeds. We need more robust human studies before drawing firm conclusions, but the direction of evidence is encouraging and consistent with what we see from other polyphenol-rich foods. So at this point, from one small clove placed under your tongue, your breath has improved, your mouth is cleaner, saliva production has increased, inflammation is being addressed, and your digestive system is getting support. And yet there's still one more benefit I want to share, and for many people it may be the most important one. Blood sugar regulation is one of the most critical health metrics of our time, and this isn't just about diabetes. Erratic blood sugar, the spikes after meals, the crashes that leave you foggy and irritable, the chronic elevation that silently damages blood vessels affects a much larger portion of the population than most people realize. Several animal studies and a growing number of small human trials have investigated whether eugenol and other clove polyphenols can improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells respond more efficiently to insulin signal to absorb glucose from the bloodstream. Some of these studies have shown modest but meaningful improvements in fasting blood sugar and post-meal glucose spikes. The mechanisms being explored include eugenol's potential effect on certain enzymes involved in carbohydrate digestion, as well as its influence on how your cells respond to insulin at the molecular level. Now, let me be direct with you. No single spice is going to compensate for a diet heavy in processed sugars and refined carbohydrates. Blood sugar management begins with what's on your plate: vegetables, quality proteins, healthy fats, fiber-rich foods. That foundation comes first, always. But when that foundation is in place and you add consistent daily habits that introduce beneficial plant compounds, this is how small advantages accumulate over time. Diet, movement, quality sleep, stress management, and yes, supportive plant compounds working together, each one contributes. And over weeks and months, those contributions add up in ways that matter. And here's why I keep coming back to blood sugar in my work. When glucose stays chronically elevated, the damage is quiet but serious. It injures the delicate lining of your blood vessels. It accelerates the formation of what scientists call advanced glycation end products, compounds that essentially age your tissues from the inside. It overworks your pancreas and gradually exhausts the cells responsible for producing insulin. Most people don't feel this happening until it's already advanced. That's why every practical, evidence-supported strategy you can add to your daily life, including something as simple as a single clove, is worth serious consideration. Not as a cure, not as a replacement, but as one more factor working in your favor. Because I believe in giving you the full picture, let's talk about safety. One whole clove is the right amount. This is not a case where more means better. The compounds in cloves are potent. That potency is what makes them useful, and it's also what makes overuse unwise. Concentrated clove essential oil, the kind sold in small dropper bottles, should never be applied directly inside your mouth undiluted. It is far too strong and can burn sensitive tissue. The whole clove releases its oils slowly and gently. The concentrated oil does not. They are very different. If you're pregnant, nursing, taking blood-thinning medications, or managing any chronic condition, please talk with your healthcare provider before starting any new daily herbal practice. Eugenol does have mild blood-thinning properties. One clove daily is unlikely to cause problems for a healthy adult, but it's always smart to check for interactions with existing treatments. And I want to say this clearly, this is a complement to your health routine, not a replacement for it. It doesn't replace brushing and flossing. It doesn't replace regular dental visits, and it doesn't replace working with your doctor on serious medical conditions. Think of it as one small, evidence-supported tool in a much larger toolbox. Here's what I want you to step back and consider. We live in a time when people spend enormous amounts of money on supplements, proprietary blends, and expensive health protocols. Many of those products contain isolated versions of the very same compounds that nature already packaged inside whole spices and whole foods. A single whole clove costs a fraction of a penny. No subscription, no complicated dosing. Its active compounds come surrounded by fiber, additional polyphenols, and complementary molecules, a natural matrix your body already knows how to process. And here's a detail that stopped me in my tracks when I first learned it. In studies measuring the antioxidant capacity of common spices, cloves consistently rank at the very top, higher than turmeric, higher than cinnamon, higher than oregano. Gram for gram, the clove is one of the most antioxidant-dense foods ever tested. The clove has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for over 2,000 years, primarily for conditions of the stomach and digestive system. It was so valued that European powers waged entire naval campaigns over access to the Maluku Islands of Indonesia, the original home of the clove tree. For centuries, cloves were worth more by weight than gold. Merchants risked their lives to transport them along ancient spice routes. Ayurvedic practitioners in India, healers in the Middle East, and traditional medicine systems across Africa all recognized something special about this spice long before modern laboratories could explain the chemistry behind it. In many Middle Eastern cultures, chewing a clove after a meal is still a daily practice, a tradition for freshening breath and settling digestion that has survived unbroken for generations. And now, with modern analytical chemistry, we can see exactly what those practitioners intuited, a remarkably concentrated source of bioactive compounds with demonstrated antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and metabolic supportive properties. Sometimes the most useful health tools aren't complicated, they're just forgotten. So here's what I'm going to recommend, and I'm not just recommending it, I'm inviting you to test it for yourself. Once a day, I personally prefer mornings before breakfast, but after a meal works fine. Take one whole clove and tuck it under your tongue. Set a timer for 5 minutes if that helps. Breathe normally, let the saliva flow, let the oils release. Pay attention to the warmth, the tingle, the flavor. After 5 minutes, gently bite into the softened clove and swallow it. That's it. That is the entire practice. Try it for 7 days. Just 7. And then come back to this video and tell me what you noticed. Was your morning breath different? Did your gums feel calmer? Did that afternoon bloating ease up? Did your joints feel a little more cooperative when you first got out of bed? Did your digestion feel quieter after dinner? Pay attention to the small changes, because this is something I've learned over decades in medicine. Lasting health is built from small, consistent choices, not dramatic overhauls, not expensive protocols, just steady, evidence-based habits practiced daily, the kind nobody celebrates in the moment, but everyone benefits from over time. Your body is a remarkable system. It's constantly working to find balance, to repair, to defend itself, and sometimes all it needs is the right support, delivered in the right way, to the right place. That little clove in your spice rack might just be one of the most underappreciated tools you already own. I hope this information serves you well. I hope you try the 7-day experiment, and I genuinely want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know what you experience. Tell me what day you noticed the first change. Share this video with someone in your family who you think could benefit from it. Sometimes the most meaningful thing we can do for the people we care about is share simple, practical knowledge. Take care of yourself. Eat well, stay curious, be consistent, be patient, and make today a good one. I'll see you in the next video.